Episode 298. Today we're talking about some standouts in yesterday's matchup between St. Louis and Winnipeg. It was game six, and Blues ran away with this one. They're up 5-1 midway through two, and they just ended up really separating themselves and really making a difference throughout this game. And I think a lot of their guys were really engaged throughout the game too. It wasn't just their top line. It was every line. Every line was producing for them. Every line was generating offense. Every line was active defensively, and every line was just heavily involved in the game. And Connor Hellebuyck got pulled once again. He got pulled for Eric Comrie. Eric Comrie coming at the start of the third period, and from that point, it was just all St. Louis. And well, St. Louis was really able to control the game, and they had four goals, I believe, in around 5 minutes, and they were just humming. They kept buzzing. They kept generating offense. They kept generating in transition. When you give St. Louis odd man rush opportunities in transition, they are a very hard team to stop because they not only generate a lot of offensively, but they're also very engaged in terms of how they attack. Like their small area support and their details and stuff like that is really good and really noticeable. And we'll start with some guys. Alexei Toropchenko, I thought was one of the most noticeable guys, and he had 2 points in this game. I really liked his play. More of a fourth liner, and I really think long term there's more upside and more untapped offensive potential in his game that hasn't been utilized yet. I think there's a lot more that you can really look at in his game and be excited about longer term. It's just more a matter of if he's able to get the ice time. And the whole fourth line, I think Torchenko's noticeable, Foxer's noticeable, and I believe the other guy on that fourth line was Nathan Walker. And Nathan Walker, in his own right, just a guy. He reminds me of Nathan Gerbe when Nathan Gerbe played, just the exact same, basically a prototype type player, where he's very engaged offensively, but also very engaged defensively. He can play in transition. He can play up ice. He is very noticeable all around the offensive zone and very noticeable around the net and around the crease. So. I think that's one of the biggest components of his game and how he's able to generate offensively. Cam Fowler was also really noticeable. Philip Broberg, those guys. And I think the D corps really stepped up throughout this game. And Ryan Suter, too. Colton Parayko, Philip Broberg, Cam Fowler, like all those guys were really noticeable, which was great to see. But I thought Cam Fowler brought he's been very productive throughout the playoffs so far. And obviously, he's been noticeable in transition. He's been noticeable up ice. He's been noticeable to get back, recovering. He's been noticeable in all facets of the game. And I remember when he was playing with Anaheim and going on those playoff runs 10 years ago with Anaheim, he was a key component to their run offensively as well. And you're more likely to get assists out of him in the playoffs, but there's certainly some times where he's able to weaponize his shot and weaponize his wrist shot, especially coming downhill, and he's able to generate some goals and get some goal production in there. I think he's just been unbelievable for them throughout the playoffs so far, and he's looked like a steal of a pickup so far, and has been a really nice fit in St. Louis so far. So, and then Jimmy Snuggerud, I really liked his game. I mean, Braden Shen's another guy we could talk about. I think he's an obvious one who is very noticeable. I think he's noticeable every game though. But Jimmy Snuggerud, I really like his shot as he's getting more acclimated to the NHL. I feel like I've noticed his ability to use speed and transition and use his foot speed and use his crossovers with confidence and be able to cut across the slot, cut across the neutral zone, like those type of things, those little details. And I picked up on little things that I think have allowed him to be able to have more success and more sustained success right away. I think he's gonna be a staple as a full-time player in the Blues next year, up and down their top nine, and just be a great fit there. I think he was really, really noticeable. He was really exciting to watch, and he was really moving well all throughout the game, which is another positive sign when you're talking about Jimmy Snuggerud's development, and especially him being so early in his NHL career. He already looks very acclimated to the league, especially come playoff time, which is really good to see, and has just continued to get better. Robert Thomas really liked his play on odd man rushes, and speaking of St. Louis leading those odd man rushes. He's one of those leaders who could really generate a lot of transition. He could attack the outside lane, he could attack the inside lane, and he does a great job using both and weaponizing both. And he is one of their best transitional players, but also one of their best players in zone offensively. So simultaneously, that creates a nice balance. And I thought he was really great throughout this game. As for Winnipeg's side, not too many guys are noticeable. I think Josh Morrissey was noticeable, one assist for him. Kyle Connor, him as well, just using his speed, weaponizing his speed and his pace and his ability to accelerate up ice and how he's moving up ice there. I thought Josh Morrissey was effective more in transition and being able to get pucks up ice and be able to lug the play up ice, both individually and sometimes simultaneously with his team, but more so individually. And Morrissey's a guy you really notice in terms of his ability to create space and move laterally in the ozone. And very much an underrated defenseman at being able to use his transitional ability, I think. But in terms of his offensive ability, it's very well known throughout the league and what he can do now. But his transition play, his fluidity, his pace, his feet, all those things are just they link up together really well and really nicely in transition. And I thought Nino Niederreiter and Cole Perfetti, the two guys that only had goals for this game, in for Winnipeg. I thought those two were very noticeable. Cole Perfetti was really noticeable around the net. He's able to get second chances, work to get pucks back there, and was just overall very effective.